Hey, hello everyone. Yesterday, someone asked me, can we make Cisco NSO a microservice application? And I spent some time thinking about it. And initially, I thought it's going to be difficult because all of the components are tightly coupled to each others. And also, the CDP is used for all the components in Cisco NSO. But then today I thought about it another time, and I thought if we are building it from scratch, things would be different. And to think about differences between monolithic application versus microservices application, the microservices, each microservice should deliver a feature, and it should have a use case on its own to avoid having too many microservices doing tiny pieces. Looking at Cisco NSO, this is just a sample diagram for a basic deployment where we have our CDP and NEDs, multiple NEDs for network for network devices, communication and configuration management. And the core components like service manager and device manager, these are core components of the products. Resource manager is a plugin or additional package that you can deploy in NSO. Network topology is something also you can develop in NSO. And then the services, which you want to orchestrate. You can have multiple services. So if we want to think about this monolithic architecture, how we can make it microservice. The first thing is we can split the responsibility of the services between service management and device management. So you don't need to have all in one component. So we can start by having another service that has nothing to do with the devices. This is a bit similar to the LSA deployment. So we'll take out the device management completely, not like LSA, where the RFS must be a device here. That's the first thing we can do. So we'll remove out the device service manager from here, services, and this node becomes more like service layer, and this node becomes like physical and resources layer. So if we take out these two, so this can be Cisco NSO service orchestrator. And that one could be Cisco NSO resource orchestrator. All right, so we have now the logical and physical resources managed by the lower node, and the upper node is only managing the service and service lifecycle. That could be the initial step, and they need to communicate with each other, of course. The next step could be by taking out the resource manager out of the device management centric node, because here you have the NEDs, and not necessarily that has anything to do with the resource management. So we can create another node just for resource management, no NEDs. And since we are doing that, we can do the same for the network topology. So if you are doing network topology, that will be on this node. If you are doing network discovery, that could be something you can add here as well, because it's it's the same use case and same business value. So it makes sense to be on the same node, on the same service. We are talking services now. And from your resource orchestration, you may not need to query any of these, and that could be a good reason as well to take it out. Most of the integration will be from the service orchestration service to query the network topology, and also from the network orchestration service to allocate and manage resources. So that will be like second level of designing or transforming the solution from monolithic to a microservice architecture. We'll still have more ideas to do. So if you look at the service orchestration layer, we have here multiple services. And in this architecture, we have only 2 services, but typical deployment could have at least 15, maybe 20 services. And these services could be split into 2 categories, like enterprise services, infrastructure services, actually more than 2 categories. So you can have service for enterprise customers, residential customers, infrastructure, security, data center. So you can have maybe one service for each network domain, for each customer segment. So here we have only L2 VPN service and firewall service. So what we can do is, let me break this links first to be able to easily change it. So I will make a copy of this service and we'll have one node for L2 VPN, and that one we can call it infrastructure. The other one we can call it security. Yeah, so that would be another level of breaking down the monolithic design into microservices architecture. And then we will need more services for every domain you have or for every customer segment to make sure that the service has a particular responsibility. And also, if you think about scaling the service, you don't need to scale the whole orchestrator just because of one service. It will be easy also to manage the permissions, to manage the life cycle, to manage the upgrade for every package. Also, from operation perspective, like start, stop, backup. So you have more flexibility. Looking at the resource orchestration layer, we already removed network topology and resource manager. So what left is the device management capability as well as the NEDs. So the NEDs, we can also split this layer into multiple components similar to the RFS architecture, the CFS RFS architecture. So I will create 3. And each one will be only the device manager and one NED, and we'll be talking to particular domain or particular device type. So assuming that this Juniper is for security, and we'll take out the rest. And similarly, we'll remove from here Juniper, we'll remove Cisco IOS-XR, and we'll keep one domain only, which is Cisco IOS. So this could be the access. And finally, the last NID, so Cisco ISXR. So let's say this is the core. So looking at the final architecture, looks really nice. We have separation of concern. Each node is performing particular job and has particular responsibility. It's easy to scale and easy to extend. If you are having more services, for each service, you create a new microservice. If you have more NEDs, for every NED, you create a microservice. And there will be higher responsibility on the service layer when it comes to creating a network service across multiple domain or multiple network vendors. So, and from integration perspective, it will be better to have a kind of API gateway to facilitate the communication between the microservices instead of having tightly coupled integration, which is normal or the default in the CFS RFS. So all of these services will be able to communicate to each others. And one advantage also from this architecture is it can be very distributed. So you can have, if you are deploying NSO in a huge network and you have multi-data center and you have distributed network as well, so you can have some nodes or some services closer to the network that is managing, while this will affect the performance. This setup can help a lot in having multi-tenant deployment. Of course, there is an overhead in the microservice itself because the CDP and the core platform will require lots of resources, but hopefully by this split, there's no overhead for each service. So the biggest overhead might be the NEDs because each NED run in a GVM and consume significant resources. The device inventory is splitted into multiple services and multiple CDPs. So this can help reducing the footprint of the NSO deployment. So the size of the VM, the size of the CDP will be much less relatively. If we can use a lightweight Linux version, so technically speaking, NSO can be deployed in any Linux environment. Most of the developers and customers are using Red Hat Enterprise Linux or CentOS or Ubuntu, but we can explore the possibility of using a lightweight version of Linux, so we can have each service lightweight a little bit. So thank you. If you have any comment, feel free to share with me, and I hope that we can do this architecture one day. Thank you.